The patrol lights flashed red and blue across Travis's dashboard at 6 in the evening, another expense he couldn't afford. His hands gripped the worn steering wheel as Officer Vanessa approached, her eyes scanning the back seat. A child's car seat, torn stuffed animals, an empty lunchbox. He braced for the ticket that would cost him groceries this week, but she didn't hand him a citation. She handed him something else, a piece of paper with an address scrawled across it. Then she leaned down, her voice steady but urgent, and said 4 words that made no sense. "I need you tonight. Not tomorrow, not next week. Tonight, 7 p.m. A hotel address he'd never heard of. Travis stared at the paper, then back at her retreating figure. The officer who'd just pulled him over was asking for help from him, a stranger barely holding his life together. What kind of help could a single warehouse worker possibly offer a cop? And why did her eyes look so desperate? Like she was drowning and he was the only one who could see. Travis sat motionless in his car for a full minute after Vanessa's patrol car disappeared around the corner. The paper felt heavy in his hand, heavier than any citation he'd ever received. The address was printed in neat block letters beneath her rushed handwriting, the Grand Hotel, downtown. A place he'd driven past 1,000 times but never imagined stepping inside. His phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Helen next door. "Caleb's doing homework. Take your time." He hadn't told her he might be late. She just knew, the way neighbors did when they'd watched you struggle alone for 2 years. The warehouse shift had been brutal, 8 hours of loading boxes, his back screaming with each lift. His supervisor had pulled him aside at the end, mentioned there might be overtime next week if he wanted it. Travis always wanted it. Overtime meant Caleb could get new shoes instead of the ones with the sole peeling away from the toe. It meant real groceries instead of ramen 5 nights a week. It meant maybe, just maybe, catching up on the medical bills from when Caleb had pneumonia last winter. But now this incomprehensible request from a stranger in uniform sat in his lap like a puzzle with missing pieces. He looked at the clock. 6:15. He'd pick up Caleb, make dinner, help with homework, tuck him in by 8. The routine they'd built together, just the 2 of them. After Rachel died. Lymphoma, the doctors had said, as if giving it a name made it easier to understand why a 32-year-old mother wouldn't see her son turn 6. Travis had learned to cook by YouTube videos, learned to braid hair by trial and error, learned to answer questions like, "Where's mommy?" with answers that were honest but didn't shatter a child's world. He'd learned to be enough when he never felt like he was. But something about Vanessa's eyes stopped him from crumpling the paper and driving away. He'd seen that look before, in his own mirror, in those first months after Rachel's funeral. The look of someone standing at the edge of something they couldn't come back from. The look of someone who'd run out of options and was reaching for whatever hand appeared, even if it belonged to a stranger. Travis knew what it meant to be desperate. He knew what it meant to need help you couldn't ask for. And maybe that's why, instead of going home, he found himself dialing Mrs. Helen's number. "Helen, I know this sounds crazy, but could you watch Caleb for a few extra hours tonight?" His voice sounded strange to his own ears. "Something came up. I'll explain later, I promise." Mrs. Helen, bless her, didn't ask questions. She'd been their lifeline since Rachel died, bringing casseroles, babysitting when Travis had to work doubles, slipping $20 bills into Caleb's backpack with notes that said, "For ice cream." She simply said yes, and Travis felt the knot in his chest loosen slightly. He drove home, the paper tucked into his shirt pocket like a secret. Caleb was sprawled on the living room floor with his math worksheet, tongue poking out in concentration the way he always did when he was thinking hard. 7 years old and already looking more like Rachel every day, the same dark curls, the same way of tilting his head when he listened. Travis's heart clenched. Everything he did, every choice he made, was for this boy. Even the inexplicable ones. "Hey buddy, how was school?" Travis knelt down beside him, ruffling his hair. Caleb looked up with a grin that could light up a room. "Good. We learned about fractions today. Mrs. Peterson said I'm really good at them." Pride swelled in Travis's chest. "That's my boy. Listen, Dad has to go out for a little while tonight, okay? You'll stay with Mrs. Helen." Caleb's face fell slightly. But it's Tuesday. We always have tacos on Tuesday. They did. That was their thing, Taco Tuesday. Just the two of them, where Caleb got to choose the toppings, and they'd talk about their days. Travis felt guilt stab through him. I know, bud. I'm sorry. How about we do breakfast tacos tomorrow instead? You can crack the eggs. Caleb considered this, then nodded slowly. Okay, but you have to be careful, Dad, when you go out at night. Something in his son's voice, that small thread of worry that no 7-year-old should carry, made Travis pull him into a tight hug. I'm always careful. I'll be back before you wake up, I promise. He held Caleb for a moment longer than necessary, breathing in the smell of kid shampoo and pencil erasers, grounding himself in what mattered most. By 6:45, Caleb was settled at Mrs. Helen's with his favorite blanket and a cup of hot chocolate. Travis stood in his bedroom staring at his closet. What did one wear to a mysterious meeting at a fancy hotel? He had exactly 2 dress shirts, one he'd worn to Rachel's funeral, the other to job interviews he hadn't gotten. He chose the navy blue one, pressed it as well as he could with their temperamental iron, paired it with his only pair of dress pants that weren't completely worn at the knees. Looking in the mirror, he barely recognized himself. When was the last time he'd dressed up? When was the last time he'd gone anywhere that wasn't work? The grocery store? Or Caleb's school? The drive downtown took 20 minutes. 20 minutes where Travis's mind spun with possibilities. Was this some kind of sting operation? But why would a cop need his help for that? Was she in trouble? But why turn to him? A random driver she'd pulled over. Nothing made sense. And yet here he was, pulling into the parking garage of the Grand Hotel at 6:57, his heart hammering against his ribs. The valet looked at his beat-up Honda with barely concealed disdain, but Travis handed over the keys anyway, feeling like an imposter in a world he didn't belong to. The lobby was all marble floors and crystal chandeliers, the kind of place where money spoke in whispers. Men in expensive suits checked their watches. Women in cocktail dresses laughed over champagne glasses. Travis felt every thread of his worn shirt, every scuff on his dress shoes. He pulled out the paper, checked the address again. This was definitely the place. But what now? The paper only had an address, no room number, no further instructions. He stood there, uncertain, feeling the weight of curious glances from people who could tell he didn't fit in their gilded world. Then he saw her. Vanessa emerged from a side corridor, and for a moment, Travis didn't recognize her. Gone was the uniform, replaced by a simple navy dress that made her look younger, more vulnerable. Her dark hair, which had been pulled back in a severe bun earlier, now fell in waves past her shoulders. She spotted him immediately, and the relief that washed over her face was so profound it made his chest tighten. She wasn't walking toward him, she was almost running, as if afraid he might disappear. You came. Her voice was breathless. I wasn't sure you would. Up close, Travis could see the shadows under her eyes, the way her hands trembled slightly as she smoothed down her dress. I didn't know if I would either, he admitted. But here I am. So maybe you can tell me what this is about. Vanessa glanced around the lobby at the people beginning to stare, and gestured toward the corridor she'd emerged from. Not here, please. Let me explain inside. She was nervous, he realized. Whatever this was, it scared her, and somehow, that made him feel less afraid. She led him through a set of double doors into a ballroom that was already filling with people. A string quartet played in the corner. Waiters circulated with trays of hors d'oeuvres and wine. A banner hung across the far wall. Annual Police Benevolent Fund Gala. Travis's confusion must have shown on his face because Vanessa touched his arm lightly. It's the department's charity fundraiser. Every year, everyone who's anyone in the city comes. She said it with a hint of bitterness that Travis didn't miss. Okay, Travis said slowly. So this is a work event, but I still don't understand why I'm here. Vanessa took a deep breath, her fingers twisting together. Because my ex-husband is here. Preston. He's one of the biggest donors, and for the past year, at every single department function, I've had to watch him parade around with his new girlfriend, while everyone looks at me like I'm the pathetic ex-wife who couldn't keep her man. Her voice cracked on the last word, and Travis saw her fighting to keep composed. And your colleagues, they know you're divorced? Travis asked gently. Vanessa nodded. They know. They're sympathetic, which somehow makes it worse. The pitying looks, the careful way they talk to me. Last month, my sergeant suggested I might want to take some personal time because I seemed stressed. I'm not stressed. I'm just tired of being the object of everyone's concern. She met his eyes then, and Travis saw in them something he understood intimately, the exhaustion of being strong, the weight of proving you were okay when you weren't. So you need someone to... Travis trailed off, beginning to understand. To stand beside me. To make it look like I've moved on, like I'm not falling apart. Vanessa's words came out in a rush now, like she'd been holding them in too long. I know, it's crazy. I know. I pulled you over for a legitimate traffic violation. You did cross a double line back there, but then I saw the car seat, the toys, and I saw you. Really saw you. The way you gripped the steering wheel like you were bracing for bad news. The way you immediately apologized, took responsibility. You looked like someone who understood what it meant to keep going when everything hurts. Travis's throat tightened. I do understand that. I thought so, Vanessa said quietly. And I thought maybe someone who understands wouldn't judge me for this, for being so desperate that I'd ask a stranger for help. She pulled an envelope from her small clutch purse, handed it to him. Travis opened it to find $500 bills. That's for your time. 3 hours. We make an appearance, have some conversations, you stand beside me and make it look believable, and then you can go home. That's all I need. Travis stared at the money. $500. More than he made in a week at the warehouse. It could cover Caleb's school fees for next semester. It could fix the leak in their bathroom that he'd been putting off. It could mean not choosing between electricity and groceries next month. He should take it and not ask questions. But instead, he found himself saying, "What happened with your ex?" Vanessa's expression flickered surprise, then something like gratitude. You really want to know? If I'm going to pretend to be your boyfriend, I should probably know the story, Travis said, managing a small smile. Vanessa laughed, a short, brittle sound. Preston and I married young. I was in the police academy, and he was starting his first business. We were happy, I think. Or maybe I just wanted to believe we were. Then I became a cop, and his business took off. He's in real estate development now, worth millions, and suddenly, my career was an embarrassment. Cops don't make money. Cops don't network at country clubs. Cops don't help you climb the social ladder. She paused, accepting a glass of wine from a passing waiter and downing half of it immediately. We have a daughter, Brooke. She's 6. That's the only good thing that came from the marriage. When I refused to quit my job, when I told him being a cop was part of who I am, he served me with divorce papers. Said he needed a partner who matched his ambitions. 6 months later, he was dating Madison. She gestured across the room to where a tall, impossibly thin blonde clung to the arm of a man in an expensive suit, who's 25, and works as his personal assistant. Travis followed her gaze. Preston was everything Travis wasn't: tall, polished, confident in the way that only money and privilege could make someone. He was laughing loudly at something, his hand possessive on Madison's waist. He looks like a real prize, Travis said dryly, and Vanessa surprised him by laughing a real laugh this time. He is not. But he's also not stupid. He knows how to play people, how to make himself look good. And he's been hinting that he wants more custody of Brooke. Says my job is too dangerous, too unpredictable. Says a child needs stability. Do you think he means it? Or is he just trying to control you? Travis asked. Vanessa's jaw tightened. Both. Preston doesn't do anything unless it benefits him, but he also genuinely believes that his world, his money, His status is better than what I can give our daughter. He doesn't see that Brooke needs her mother more than she needs a bigger house. The pain in her voice was raw, and Travis felt an unexpected surge of protectiveness toward this woman he'd met an hour ago. "All right," Travis said, pocketing the envelope without counting it. 3 hours. We'll make it convincing. Vanessa's relief was palpable. "Thank you. Really. I know this is beyond strange." "Strange doesn't even begin to cover it," Travis agreed. "But I know what it's like to feel like you're drowning. After my wife died, I spent months feeling like I couldn't breathe. People meant well, but their pity almost made it worse. So, I get it. Sometimes you just need to prove to yourself and everyone else that you're still standing." Something shifted in Vanessa's expression, a vulnerability breaking through. "Your wife died? I'm so sorry." "Lymphoma. 2 years ago." Caleb was 5. Travis didn't usually talk about Rachel with strangers, but there was something about Vanessa that made it feel okay. The hardest part wasn't the grief, it was everyone treating me like I was broken. Like being a single dad automatically meant I was failing. It made me want to prove them all wrong. Vanessa nodded slowly. "That's exactly it. The need to prove you're more than their pity." Before Travis could respond, a woman's voice called out. "Vanessa, there you are." A middle-aged woman in a sequined dress approached, her smile too bright, her eyes curious as they landed on Travis. "And who is this handsome gentleman?" Vanessa's hand slipped into Travis's, her palm was cold. Nervous. "Linda, this is Travis." "Travis, this is Linda Chen. She works in administration." Travis shook Linda's hand, trying to channel confidence he didn't feel. "Nice to meet you." Linda's eyebrows rose with interest. "Travis, Vanessa's mentioned you." She hadn't, of course, but that was the game. "How long have you two been seeing each other?" Travis felt Vanessa's hand tighten in his. He squeezed back gently, a silent message. "I've got this." "Not too long," he said easily. "But sometimes you just know, you know." He looked at Vanessa with what he hoped was genuine warmth. It wasn't hard, there was something about her that drew him in, made him want to shield her from judgment. Linda practically glowed with delight. "Oh, that's wonderful. We've all been worried about Vanessa, haven't we, dear? After everything with Preston." There it was, the pity, thinly veiled as concern. Travis felt Vanessa stiffen beside him. "Well, Vanessa's doing just fine," Travis said, his voice firm but polite. "She's one of the strongest people I've ever met." Linda blinked, taken aback by his directness. "Oh, yes, of course. I just meant, we know what you meant," Vanessa cut in, her voice steady now, "and I appreciate the concern. But as Travis said, I'm fine. We're fine." Linda excused herself after a few more moments of awkward small talk, and Travis felt Vanessa exhale beside him. "That was perfect," she murmured. "The way you handled her." "She meant well," Travis said, "but good intentions can still sting." They moved through the ballroom, and Travis became aware of the looks they were drawing. Some curious, some approving, some from the men in expensive suits subtly dismissive. He knew he didn't belong here, knew his off-the-rack shirt and scuffed shoes marked him as an outsider, but he also knew something these people didn't. Value wasn't measured in bank accounts. The evening took on a rhythm. Vanessa introduced him to colleagues, to donors, to city officials. Travis shook hands, made small talk about weather and traffic, and nothing consequential. He learned to read Vanessa's cues, the slight tension in her shoulders when someone asked about Preston, the grateful squeeze of his hand when he said something that made her laugh. And slowly, the pretense began to feel less like acting. He found himself genuinely enjoying her company. The quick wit she displayed when she forgot to be nervous. The way her eyes lit up when she talked about Brooke. "She's obsessed with dinosaurs right now," Vanessa was saying, smiling as she described her daughter. "Not princess dinosaurs or cute dinosaurs. Real, scientific dinosaurs. She corrects me on pronunciation. Parasaurolophus, Pachycephalosaurus. I can barely say them. And she's 6. Travis grinned. Caleb went through a phase like that. Except his thing was planets. Did you know there's a debate about whether Pluto should be a planet? Because I heard about it every single day for 3 months. Vanessa laughed, and it was genuine, reaching her eyes for the first time that evening. That's when Preston appeared. Travis sensed him before he saw him, felt the way Vanessa's entire body went rigid, the way her smile froze in place. Vanessa. Preston's voice was smooth, controlled, with an edge underneath like a knife wrapped in silk. Interesting to see you here. I thought you'd skip it this year. He hadn't acknowledged Travis yet, hadn't even looked at him. It was a deliberate insult, and Travis felt his jaw tighten. Why would I skip it? Vanessa's voice was impressively steady. I work here. Of course, Preston said, his tone suggesting otherwise. His eyes finally slid to Travis, and the assessment was instantaneous and contemptuous. And you've brought a friend. The pause before friend was deliberate, loaded with insinuation. Travis met his gaze evenly, refusing to look away first. Travis Bennett, he said, extending his hand. Preston's handshake was aggressive, squeezing too hard, trying to dominate. Travis had loaded thousands of boxes at the warehouse. His grip didn't falter. Preston Whitmore, Preston said, dropping Travis's hand quickly. So, Travis Bennett, what do you do? It was phrased as polite conversation, but Travis heard the real question. Are you worth my time? I work in logistics, Travis said, which was technically true if you considered warehouse work logistics. And I'm raising my son. That keeps me pretty busy. Preston's smile didn't reach his eyes. How wholesome. And how did you two meet? He looked between them, skepticism evident. Vanessa jumped in before Travis could answer. Through a mutual friend. It wasn't creative, but it was safe. Preston's eyebrow arched. Really? Which friend? I thought I knew all your friends, Vanessa. There was possession in his voice. Ownership he no longer had a right to claim. Travis felt something protective surge in his chest. Does it matter? Travis asked mildly. We met. We connected. That's how these things work. Preston's expression hardened. Connected. How fast exactly? You seem very comfortable for a new relationship. Preston, don't. Vanessa's voice carried a warning. But Preston was just getting started. Madison had drifted over, sensing drama, her eyes bright with interest. I'm just concerned, Vanessa. You have a daughter to think about. You can't just bring random men into her life. The implication was clear and ugly. Travis felt his temper flare. I haven't met Brooke, he said, his voice carefully controlled. And I wouldn't, not unless Vanessa felt it was the right time. Some of us understand that kids need stability, not parade of people coming and going. The barb hit its mark. Preston's face flushed. Apparently Madison wasn't the first girlfriend he'd introduced to Brooke. You don't know anything about my relationship with my daughter, Preston snapped. I know you're using her as a weapon, Travis said quietly, but with steel underneath. Threatening custody just to control Vanessa. That's not about Brooke. That's about your ego. The words were out before Travis could stop them, before he could remember this wasn't his fight, that he was just playing a role. Preston's face went from red to white. Who the hell do you think you are? I'm someone who knows what it means to put a child first, Travis said. To sacrifice, to show up every single day, to love them more than your pride. Can you say the same? For a moment, Travis thought Preston might actually take a swing at him. The man's fists clenched, his jaw working. Madison put a hand on his arm, murmuring something Travis couldn't hear. The string quartet seemed very far away. The entire ballroom might have been watching, or maybe no one was, Travis couldn't tell. Preston leaned in close, his voice low and venomous. Stay out of my family's business. You're a nobody playing dress-up. Vanessa will figure that out soon enough. He straightened, smoothed his jacket, and walked away with Madison in tow. Travis's heart was hammering. Vanessa was staring at him, her expression unreadable. I'm sorry, Travis said quickly. I shouldn't have, that wasn't my place. But Vanessa was shaking her head, and there were tears in her eyes, though she was smiling. No one has ever stood up for me like that. Not ever. They left the ballroom soon after, the evening suddenly feeling too heavy, too real. Outside, the night air was cool, and Travis gulped it down like he'd been drowning. Vanessa stood beside him, her arms wrapped around herself despite the warmth. He's going to follow through now, she said quietly. The custody thing. I saw it in his face. He can't stand being challenged, especially not publicly. Travis felt guilt wash over him. This is my fault. I antagonized him. No, Vanessa said firmly. This was always going to happen. You just accelerated the timeline. But Travis, what you said about putting a child first, did you mean it? Every word, Travis said without hesitation. My son is my entire world. Everything I do, every choice I make, is for him. That's what being a parent means. Vanessa studied his face in the dim light of the hotel entrance, searching for something. Would you help me? She finally asked. Not just tonight. Really help me. If Preston moves forward with the custody battle, I'm going to need someone to vouch for me. Someone who can testify that Brooke has stability, that I'm not alone, that I have support. Travis should have said no, should have walked away from this complicated situation that had nothing to do with him, but he thought about Vanessa's desperation, about the way Preston wielded his money and influence like weapons. He thought about what it would mean for a little girl to be used as a pawn, and he thought about Caleb, about how Travis would want someone to help them if their positions were reversed. I'll help you, he heard himself say. Whatever you need. The relief on Vanessa's face was overwhelming. Thank you. I can pay you. No, Travis cut her off. Not for this. This is about doing what's right. They exchanged phone numbers, made plans to meet later in the week to discuss strategy. Travis drove home in a daze, his mind spinning with what he'd agreed to. By the time he collapsed into bed just after midnight, he still couldn't quite believe the direction his life had taken in 6 hours. From a traffic stop to a fake relationship to a real commitment to help a stranger fight for her child. Rachel would have called him an idiot. But she also would have been proud. The next morning, Caleb crawled into bed with him at 6, as he always did, pressing his warm, small body against Travis's side. Did you have a good night, Dad? Travis wrapped his arm around his son, pressed a kiss to the top of his head. Yeah, buddy. It was interesting. Good interesting or bad interesting? Caleb asked. Travis considered the question. Good, I think. I helped someone who needed it. Like a superhero? Caleb's voice was awed. Travis smiled against his son's curls. Not exactly, but maybe a little bit. 3 days later, Vanessa called. He filed, she said, her voice tight with panic. Preston filed for emergency custody, claims I'm an unfit mother because of my work schedule and because I introduced Brooke to an unknown man after only weeks of dating. Travis's blood ran cold. But we didn't, she's never met me. He has photos, Vanessa said, from the gala. His lawyer is arguing that I'm making reckless decisions, bringing strange men around our daughter. The accusation was absurd, but Travis understood how it could be twisted, how Preston's expensive lawyers could make anything sound sinister. What do you need me to do? Travis asked. I need you to meet Brooke, Vanessa said, then rushed to add. I know how that sounds. I know I just said introducing men was reckless, but if Preston's already claiming it happened, then it needs to not be a lie. The hearing is in 2 weeks. They're going to ask Brooke about her home life, about who's around. If she's never heard of you, it undermines everything. Travis understood the logic, even as it made his stomach turn. This was getting more complicated, more real, with every passing moment. But he also thought about Brooke, a 6-year-old girl caught in her parents' battle. Okay, he said. When? They arranged to meet that Saturday at a park. Neutral ground, Vanessa said. Somewhere Brooke felt safe. Travis brought Caleb along. Vanessa had suggested it might make Brooke more comfortable, having another child there. As they approached the playground, Travis saw them immediately. Vanessa in jeans and a t-shirt, looking younger and more vulnerable than she had in uniform or evening wear. And beside her, a little girl with dark pigtails and a bright purple jacket. Brooke looked up as they approached, her eyes curious but cautious. "Brooke, sweetheart, this is my friend Travis, and this is his son, Caleb." Vanessa's voice was gentle, reassuring. Travis knelt down to Brooke's eye level, something he'd learned to do with Caleb's friends. "Hi, Brooke. Your mom's told me a lot about you. I heard you're an expert on dinosaurs." Brooke's face lit up immediately. "I know all of them, even the hard ones." "Even Parasaurolophus?" Travis asked, mangling the pronunciation deliberately. Brooke giggled. Parasaurolophus. You have to say the middle part louder." Caleb, who'd been shy at first, perked up. "Do you like the ones with the long necks?" he asked. "Those are sauropods," Brooke declared excitedly. "Like Brachiosaurus and Apatosaurus." And just like that, the two children were off, running toward the swings, launching into an animated discussion about the Jurassic period. Travis and Vanessa followed more slowly, staying close enough to watch but far enough to give the kids space. "She likes you," Vanessa observed. "You're good with kids." "Lots of practice," Travis said, watching Caleb push Brooke on the swing, both of them laughing. "But she's easy to like. She reminds me of Caleb, curious about everything, no filter on her excitement." They sat on a bench, and for a while, they just watched the children play. It was peaceful, normal in a way the gala hadn't been. "Can I ask you something?" Vanessa said eventually. "Why are you really doing this? And don't say it's just about doing what's right. You have your own life, your own child to worry about." Travis was quiet for a moment, searching for the truth. "When Rachel was sick, people helped us. Neighbors brought meals. Caleb's teacher stayed late to tutor him when he fell behind because he was worried about his mom. The hospital social worker helped me navigate insurance and bills. They didn't have to do any of that. They did it because they saw someone who needed help." He paused, swallowed hard. "After Rachel died, I promised myself I'd pay it forward, that if I ever saw someone drowning the way I was drowning, I'd throw them a lifeline, even if it was inconvenient, even if it was complicated." Vanessa's eyes were shining with unshed tears. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," Travis replied. "Just let me help." They stayed at the park for 2 hours. Caleb and Brooke became instant friends, the way children sometimes do, no complicated adult baggage, just pure enjoyment of each other's company. They climbed on the jungle gym, played tag, shared snacks from their respective lunchboxes. Watching them, Travis felt something shift in his chest. This was no longer just about helping Vanessa. It was about these kids, about making sure they had what they needed. As they were leaving, Brooke hugged Vanessa, then surprised Travis by hugging him too. "Can Caleb come over sometime?" she asked hopefully. Travis looked at Vanessa, who nodded slightly. "Sure, sweetheart. We'll arrange something." In the parking lot, as they were buckling their respective kids into their cars, Vanessa caught Travis's hand. "Thank you. For today, for all of this." Travis squeezed her hand gently. "We're going to get through this. Both of us." He meant it. Somewhere in the past week, this had stopped being a favor for a stranger and become something more personal. The custody hearing arrived with the weight of inevitability. Travis took the day off work unpaid, because warehouse workers didn't get personal days, and put on his funeral suit. He'd promised to testify if needed, to provide a stable presence that countered Preston's narrative. The courthouse was intimidating, all marble and echoing corridors. Travis found Vanessa in the hallway outside the courtroom, pacing like a caged animal. Her lawyer, a tired-looking woman named Patricia, was reviewing notes. "You didn't have to come," Vanessa said when she saw Travis, but her eyes said otherwise. She needed him there. "Yes, I did," Travis said simply. They sat in the gallery as Preston's lawyer painted a picture of Vanessa as an unstable, reckless mother. The lawyer spoke about dangerous work conditions, unpredictable hours, and the introduction of a strange man into Brooke's life, after only weeks of knowing him. They showed the photos from the gala, Travis and Vanessa holding hands, standing close, looking for all the world like a real couple. Then Preston took the stand, and Travis's hands clenched into fists. Preston spoke smoothly, practiced, about his concerns for Brooke's well-being. "I can provide stability," he said. "A home with consistent routines. My fiancée Madison is wonderful with children." Travis noticed Vanessa flinch at fiancé, and Brooke would have everything she needs. "I'm not saying Vanessa's a bad mother. I'm saying she's overwhelmed. The job, the stress, now this new relationship that seems rushed. Brooke deserves better." When it was Vanessa's turn, she spoke about her bond with Brooke, about the bedtime stories and homework help and scraped knees she'd bandaged. She spoke about being a cop not despite being a mother, but partly because of it, wanting to make the world safer for her daughter. But Preston's lawyer was relentless, twisting her words, suggesting that her career priorities came before her child. Travis wanted to jump up, to shout that it wasn't true, but he wasn't called to testify. The judge would make her decision based on the evidence presented. Then Patricia called Travis to the stand. "Mr. Bennett, how long have you known Miss Harper?" Travis took a breath. This was it, the moment of truth. "I met Vanessa 3 weeks ago," he said honestly, "but I've gotten to know her well in that time." Preston's lawyer was already smirking, preparing to pounce. 3 weeks, and you've already met her daughter? Don't you think that's rather quick?" Travis met the lawyer's eyes steadily. "I think there's no timeline on recognizing a good person, or a good parent." "You're not exactly objective, are you? You're in a relationship with Miss Harper." The lawyer's tone was condescending. Travis felt his temper spark, but kept his voice level. "I am. But I'm also a single parent who's been doing this alone for 2 years. I know what it takes. I know the sacrifices, the late nights, the constant worry that you're not enough. And I can tell you that Vanessa Harper is more than enough for her daughter." He turned to address the judge directly. "Your Honor, I've seen Brooke with her mother. I've watched Vanessa drop everything to make sure her daughter feels safe and loved. That's what matters, not the size of a house or how much money is in a bank account." Preston's lawyer wasn't finished. "Mr. Bennett, what do you do for a living?" "I work in a warehouse," Travis said. "No point in dressing it up. And how much do you make?" "Objection," Patricia called out. "Relevance?" "Goes to the stability of the environment, miss. Harper is bringing her daughter into," the lawyer countered. The judge allowed it. Travis named his salary barely above minimum wage and felt the weight of Preston's judgment from across the courtroom. "So you're not exactly in a position to provide for a family, are you?" "I provide for my son just fine," Travis said, an edge creeping into his voice. "He's healthy, happy, and knows he's loved. That's providing. But you can't offer the opportunities Mr. Whitmore can. Private schools, travel, connections." "No, I can't," Travis interrupted. "But I can offer something Preston Whitmore apparently can't. I show up. Every day. Not when it's convenient, not when it makes me look good, but consistently. That's what kids need. Presence, not presents." The courtroom went silent. Travis knew he'd probably just tanked any credibility he had by getting emotional, but he didn't care. He looked at Preston and saw the barely contained rage on the man's face. "Mr. Whitmore might have money, but I've watched him with people. He treats them like props, like tools to make himself look better. Is that really what Brooke needs to grow up around?" Preston's lawyer objected strenuously, and the judge sustained it, but the words had been said. Travis stepped down from the stand, not sure if he'd helped or hurt Vanessa's case. In the hallway afterward, Vanessa grabbed his arm. "You didn't have to defend me like that." "Yes," Travis said firmly. "I did." They waited for hours for the judge's decision. Travis texted Mrs. Helen, who assured him Caleb was fine, was having dinner with her, not to worry. But Travis was worrying not just about the hearing, but about what it meant that he cared this much, about Vanessa, about Brooke, about a situation that had entered his life by pure chance. Finally, they were called back into the courtroom. The judge looked stern as she reviewed her notes. "This is never an easy decision," she began. "Both parents clearly love their daughter. However, I have concerns about Mr. Whitmore's motivations. The evidence suggests this custody petition is driven more by a desire to control the mother than by genuine concern for the child's welfare." Preston's face went red. "Furthermore, Miss Harper has demonstrated consistent, loving parenting. While her relationship with Mr. Bennett is new, I see no evidence that it's negatively impacting Brooke. Therefore, primary custody remains with Miss Harper. Mr. Whitmore will continue with his current visitation schedule of 2 weekends per month, supervised until further review." The judge's gavel came down with finality. Vanessa collapsed into her chair, sobbing with relief. Travis felt his own eyes burn with tears. They'd won. Patricia was gathering her papers, smiling. "That testimony helped," she told Travis quietly. "The judge needed to see genuine care, not just legal arguments. You gave her that." Outside the courthouse, Vanessa threw her arms around Travis, holding on like he was the only solid thing in a spinning world. "Thank you. Thank you." Travis hugged her back, feeling the tremor of emotions running through her. "You did this," he said. "You fought for your daughter, and you won." When she pulled back, there were tear tracks on her cheeks. But she was smiling, really smiling, the kind that transformed her whole face. "We should celebrate. Let me take you and Caleb to dinner. Please, I need to do something normal before I fall apart from relief." They picked up Caleb and Brooke, went to a family restaurant with sticky booths and crayons for the kids. Nothing fancy, but perfect. The children colored together, chattering about school and cartoons, while Travis and Vanessa just breathed. "What happens now?" Travis asked, picking at his fries. Vanessa shook her head slowly. "I don't know. Preston won't take this well. He'll probably keep his distance for a while, lick his wounds. But eventually, he'll try something else. That's who he is." Travis reached across the table, covered her hand with his. "Then we'll deal with it when it comes." "We?" Vanessa asked softly. Travis realized what he'd said, but he didn't take it back. "If you want. I mean, we're already committed to this story that we're together. Might as well keep it going, right?" For consistency, it was a weak excuse, and they both knew it. The truth was simpler and more complicated. Travis didn't want to walk away. Not from Vanessa, not from Brooke, not from whatever this was becoming. "For consistency," Vanessa echoed, but she was smiling in a way that suggested she saw right through him. Over the next few months, the pretense became reality so gradually that Travis couldn't pinpoint exactly when it happened. They started having regular dinners together. The 4 of them, Travis, Caleb, Vanessa, and Brooke. The kids were inseparable, treating each other like siblings. Travis helped Brooke with her science project. Vanessa taught Caleb how to throw a proper baseball. They fell into routines without discussing them: Sunday morning pancakes, Friday movie nights, homework sessions at Vanessa's kitchen table. Travis found himself thinking about Vanessa during the day, smiling at text messages she sent him, looking forward to seeing her in a way that went beyond friendship or obligation. She made him laugh with her dry humor. She challenged him when he was too self-sacrificing. She really saw him in a way no one had since Rachel died. And somewhere along the way, Vanessa's hand in his stopped feeling like performance and started feeling like home. One evening, after the kids had fallen asleep during a movie, Vanessa and Travis sat on her porch with coffee, watching fireflies dance in the darkness. "Can I tell you something?" Vanessa asked. "Always," Travis replied. "I keep waiting for you to realize this is too much, too complicated, that you signed up to help with one hearing, not to become part of our lives." Her voice was vulnerable, uncertain. Travis turned to face her fully. "Vanessa, I'm not going anywhere." "But why?" she pressed. "I'm a mess. My ex-husband is vindictive and rich. I work weird hours. My life is chaos." Travis smiled gently. "My wife died and left me to raise a 7-year-old alone. I work a job that barely pays the bills. I haven't been on a real date in 3 years because I didn't think anyone would want to deal with my baggage. We're both messy, but we're messy together." Vanessa's eyes were bright with emotion. "When did this stop being pretend for you?" Travis thought back to the park, to watching Caleb and Brooke play, to the way Vanessa had hugged him after the hearing, to 1,000 small moments that had built something real. "Honestly, I think it stopped being pretend around the second time Brooke explained dinosaur facts to me, or maybe when you texted me at midnight because you couldn't sleep and just needed someone to talk to, or when Caleb told me he was glad I had a friend who made me smile again." He paused. "When did it stop for you?" "The gala," Vanessa said immediately. "When you stood up to Preston. No one has ever defended me like that. And I realized you barely knew me, but you were willing to fight for me anyway. That's when I knew you were different, special." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of the confession settling between them. Then Vanessa took a breath. "So what do we do now? Do we keep pretending this is fake? Or do we acknowledge that somewhere along the way, it became real?" Travis reached out, tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, let his hand linger against her cheek. "I vote for real." Vanessa leaned into his touch, her eyes never leaving his. "Real is scary. Real is always scary," Travis agreed. "But pretending to be happy is exhausting. Actually being happy, that's worth the fear." Vanessa smiled, that beautiful, unguarded smile he'd come to cherish. "You make it sound simple." "It is simple," Travis said. "Not easy, but simple. I care about you. You care about me.
I need you tonight.
Everything else, we figure out together." She kissed him then, soft and tentative, a question and an answer all at once. Travis kissed her back, feeling something in his chest that had been locked tight since Rachel's death finally loosen. This wasn't replacing Rachel, nothing could, but it was allowing himself to live again, to be more than just Caleb's father, to be Travis again. When they pulled apart, Vanessa was crying, but she was also laughing. "I wasn't supposed to fall for the stranger I pulled over. And I wasn't supposed to fall for the cop who gave me the strangest ticket of my life," Travis countered. "Guess we're both full of surprises." They started dating officially, though it felt redundant given how much time they already spent together. Vanessa met Mrs. Helen, who took one look at the way Travis smiled around Vanessa and gave her wholehearted approval. Travis met Vanessa's mother, who was recovering from a stroke and living in a care facility. The older woman squeezed Travis's hand and whispered, "Take care of my girls." Travis promised he would. The kids were thrilled they'd been best friends for months, and now they'd be even more in each other's lives. It wasn't perfect. Preston continued to be difficult, showing up unexpectedly at Brooke's school events, making pointed comments about Vanessa's choices. Travis's work hours often conflicted with Vanessa's shifts, requiring complicated scheduling. Money was perpetually tight. 2 single parents joining forces meant 2 sets of bills, 2 kids to provide for. There were arguments about discipline styles and bedtimes, and whose turn it was to do dishes. But there was also laughter. There were Sunday mornings tangled together in bed while the kids made a disaster of the kitchen trying to surprise them with breakfast. There were inside jokes and shared looks across dinner tables and the comfort of knowing someone had your back. 6 months after that first traffic stop, Travis took Vanessa back to the Grand Hotel. Not for a gala this time, but for dinner at the restaurant. Just the 2 of them. Vanessa wore the same navy dress from that first night. Travis wore his good shirt, properly pressed this time. They sat at a table by the window, overlooking the city lights, and it felt like coming full circle. "Remember when you pulled me over?" Travis asked, smiling over his wine glass. "How could I forget?" Vanessa laughed. "I was so desperate, so scared. I can't believe you actually came." "I almost didn't," Travis admitted. "I sat in my car for 10 minutes trying to talk myself out of it." "What changed your mind?" "Your eyes," Travis said simply. "I saw desperation in them, but I also saw strength. I thought anyone who can look that scared but still ask for help is worth knowing." Vanessa reached across the table, laced her fingers through his. That was the worst and best night of my life. Worst because of Preston, best because of you. They talked about the future, careful, tentative conversations about maybe moving in together eventually, about making sure the kids transitioned smoothly, about whether Travis should look into going back to school to get a better job. Nothing was decided, nothing rushed. They'd learned the hard way that life didn't follow neat timelines, but they could dream together, plan together, build towards something neither had thought possible. When they left the hotel, Travis pulled the old paper from his wallet, the one Vanessa had given him that first night, with the hotel address. He'd kept it all this time, a reminder of where they'd started. "I need you tonight," Travis read aloud, smiling at the memory. Vanessa took the paper, looked at it for a long moment, then met his eyes. "You know what's funny? That night, I just needed you for a few hours, to get through one evening, but now," she paused, her voice thick with emotion, "now I need you every night, every day. I need you, Travis." Travis pulled her close, pressed his forehead against hers. "Good, because I need you too. Not because of Preston or custody or keeping up appearances, just because you're you and I'm me, and somehow we work." They drove home separately, Vanessa to pick up Brooke from her mother's place, Travis to get Caleb from Mrs. Helen's. But they'd see each other the next morning, and the morning after that, and every morning for as long as they could manage. That night, tucking Caleb into bed, Travis felt something he hadn't felt in years: contentment. Not just getting by, not just surviving, but actually content. "Dad?" Caleb mumbled sleepily. "Yeah, buddy? I like Vanessa. And Brooke. I like them too, Cal. A lot." Caleb was quiet for a moment then. "Do you think Mom would like them?" Travis's throat tightened. They didn't talk about Rachel often, it was too hard, but when they did, Travis tried to be honest. "Yeah," he said softly. "I think Mom would like them a lot. I think she'd be happy that we're not alone anymore." Caleb nodded against his pillow. "Good. Because I want to keep them." Travis kissed his son's forehead, turned off the light. "Me too, buddy. Me too." In the darkness of his own room later, Travis thought about the strange journey that had brought him here. A traffic stop, a desperate request, a fake relationship that became real. He thought about Rachel, about the life they'd had and the life they'd never get to live. He hoped she knew he'd kept his promise, he'd taken care of Caleb, raised their son to be kind and curious and loved. And he hoped she understood that loving Vanessa wasn't forgetting her, wasn't replacing her. It was honoring the lesson she'd taught him, that life was precious and short, and you had to grab happiness when it appeared, even if it came from unexpected places. Even if it came from a cop pulling you over on an ordinary Tuesday evening. Travis pulled out his phone, sent Vanessa a text. "Thank you for everything, for taking a chance on a stranger." Her response came quickly. "Thank you for saying yes, for showing up, for staying." Then, after a pause, "I love you, you know." Travis stared at the words, his heart full. They hadn't said it yet, had been dancing around it for weeks, but there it was, simple and true. He typed back, "I love you too. See you tomorrow." Tomorrow, and the day after, and all the days beyond. They'd figure it out together, the messy, complicated, beautiful reality they'd built from a moment of desperation. The patrol lights that had flashed across his dashboard that evening had seemed like just another problem, another expense he couldn't afford. But they'd been something else entirely, a beacon, guiding him toward a future he hadn't known he needed. Toward Vanessa and Brooke, toward a family cobbled together from broken pieces, but stronger for it. Toward love, unexpected and transformative, all because a cop had pulled him over and said 4 words that changed everything. "I need you tonight." And Travis, in his own desperation and loneliness and desire to help, had answered. Not knowing where it would lead, not knowing what he was signing up for, just knowing that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is show up for a stranger and hope they'll show up for you in return. Sometimes the best things in life start with the worst timing. Sometimes love finds you when you're not looking for it, when you're just trying to survive one more day. And sometimes, all it takes is one person seeing you, really seeing you and saying, "I need you," not as a burden, but as an invitation, not as an ending, but as a beginning. Travis had been pulled over that evening, but what he'd really been pulled toward was hope, and that made all the difference.